processing. He stands there the way unfinished thoughts do, one hand busy, the other pretending not to be. The stick isn't for walking, not really. It's for pointing at things that aren't there yet, or maybe for steadying himself when the colors get loud. Artists rarely admit that part. If this is a self-portrait, and he suspects it is because the beard is too honest and the posture too familiar, then it was painted on a day when the world felt like it was talking all at once. Not shouting exactly. More like humming, scribbling, muttering to itself in several emotional keys. The background gives it away, loops and tangles of color like thoughts that refuse to cue politely. He remembers starting with the shirt. Blue felt sensible. Blue always pretends to be calm, even when it isn't. The trousers came next, earthy, reliable, the sort of brown that says, "I pay bills," while secretly dreaming of abandoning them. The satchel was a concession to reality. Artists like to carry things. Sketchbooks, pencils, and snacks they forgot about 3 weeks ago. Then came the background, which is where things went sideways. At first, it was meant to be gentle. A wash, a mood, something tasteful. But the brush had opinions. It twitched. It wandered. It scribbled where it wasn't invited. Lines appeared like half-finished sentences. Colors overlapped like conversations at a pub table where everyone's had just enough courage to be honest and not enough sense to stop. He stepped back and laughed. Not the polished gallery laugh, but the private one, the "oh, so that's how I'm feeling" laugh. The background wasn't chaos. It was an accumulation. Every idea he'd started and not finished, every painting that nearly worked, every plan that sounded brilliant at 2 a.m., every moment of doubt, wearing a funny hat so it wouldn't be recognized. He left the face until last, which is always a mistake and always unavoidable. Faces know when they're being avoided. He softened the eyes, because they'd seen enough already. He let the mouth tilt, not smiling, not frowning, just existing in that thoughtful middle ground where humor lives quietly. The beard took care of itself. Beards always do. As he worked, he realized something mildly alarming. The man in the painting looked back at him with patience, not judgment, not approval, just patience, the sort you develop after spending years explaining why you do what you do and realizing you don't actually owe anyone an explanation. The walking stick, yes, walking stick now, let's call it that, leaned into the composition like a full stop. It grounded the figure, a reminder that even when your head is busy rearranging the universe, your feet are still on the floor, usually surrounded by paint splatters. Occasionally standing on a brush, you definitely put it somewhere safe. There was humor in it, too. The background looked dramatic, almost intense, while the man stood there calmly as if to say, "Yes, it's a lot in here, but I've made tea." That contrast pleased him. Art should smile at itself now and then. Otherwise, it starts taking up too much space in the room. When he finally stopped, the painting didn't feel finished in the traditional sense. It felt paused, like a conversation that would continue tomorrow or next week, or whenever he next stood in front of it with fresh eyes and slightly different worries. He wondered what viewers would see. Some might think the background represents turmoil. Others might see joy, movement, and play. A few would nod knowingly, recognizing the mental wallpaper of anyone who spends too long alone with their thoughts and a box of colors. Someone would probably ask what it means. He already knew his answer. "It's just a man," he'd say, standing in his own head. If it was a self-portrait, it wasn't about vanity. It was about permission. Permission to be unfinished. Permission to be amused by your own seriousness. Permission to exist quietly while your inner world throws a small, colorful riot behind you. He cleaned his brushes, stepped back one last time, and tipped his head, just slightly, towards the man in the painting. The man tipped his back, or seemed to. That was good enough. After all, not every conversation needs words. Some just need color, a bit of scribble, and the courage to stand still while everything else dances. He took a last look at the painting and walked away, whistling.